When you make a choice among brands that are in fierce competition, what would you think if I told you that only 3 major corporations win? In our daily lives, everything we use, from transportation to technology, the beverages we drink to the food we consume, the clothes we wear, and the television programs we watch is owned by 3 major corporations. We can find these companies by doing a quick search on Google. When we type Apple shareholders in the search bar, we will see a finance page listing Apple's shareholders. It appears that 57% of Apple shares are owned by institutional investors. Below, you will see the institutions holding the largest shares: Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. So who owns what we think is Apple's biggest rival, Microsoft? Similarly, when we search, we find that institutional investors own the majority of Microsoft shares, and once again, the same 3 major companies are at the top: Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. Let's look at 2 more rival brands, Coca-Cola and Pepsi. The same 3 major companies are the largest shareholders of both soda brands as well. Even when we think we're making a choice between the 2 brands at the store, the winners are still the same 3 major corporations. As I mentioned in my first video, the owners of the oil companies that cause crises around the world are also these 3 major corporations. So, who owns these 3 corporations? BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, also known as the Big Three, are the world's 3 largest global investment firms. According to a study conducted by Cambridge University, these 3 companies are the largest shareholders in 88% of America's top 500 companies and control assets worth over $20 trillion. They wield a position of power, controlling more money than the annual GDP of the world's 2nd largest economy, China. So are the owners of this Big Three JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citibank, Goldman Sachs, and other banks? No, they own global banks. While banks control their customers' money, investment firms control their customers' shares. Banks may fail depending on changes in economic policies, but global investment firms do not face such a risk. You can say that investment firms do not own the shares they control, but manage them to make money for their clients. However, there are 2 different types of funds: active funds and passive funds. In contrast to active funds, the Big Three hold relatively illiquid and permanent ownership positions. So, what does this mean? Shareholders can influence corporate decisions by direct engagements and voice their concerns directly to management. Blockholders with at least 5% of the shares are generally considered highly influential, and shareholders that hold more than 10% are already considered insiders to the firm under U.S. law. There are indications that the Big Three are beginning to actively exert influence on the corporations in which they hold ownership stakes. Through an analysis of proxy vote records, we find that the Big Three do utilize coordinated voting strategies and hence follow a centralized corporate governance strategy. Why do these Big Three act together? Because just as they own everything else, they also own each other. We just can't see the owners of Vanguard. Why doesn't the media, which we follow every day, cover the information we can access with a few searches on the internet?
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.